Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of VENDO Velocity. I'm super excited to have a special guest on the podcast with us today. But first and foremost, if you haven't tuned in to VENDO Velocity, it is your weekly live podcast hosted by us, VENDO, and we go live talking about the latest strategies and platform updates on Amazon.com, Walmart.com, and TikTok Shop. So again, without further ado, I'll go ahead and introduce our guest today, John Aspinall over at PickFu, who is their brand evangelist. So John, if you don't mind going through an introduction of what you do at PickFu and what your role looks like.
Yeah, thanks, Delaney. So my name is John Aspinall. I'm a brand evangelist, like Delaney said, at PickFu. I'm in charge of getting the name out there and showing people how they can be using PickFu more than just one time. A lot of folks think that PickFu is a one and done type thing. It's really not. A lot of people talk about ABC, always be closing and sales, right? I really talk about ABT, always be testing, because your assets are important, whether it's for advertising, banners, sponsored display, sponsored brand, all the way down to your main hero image, all the way down to your bullet points, your A+ content, your brand story module, product validation. Should I buy this product? Should I invest in this product? What's my competitors? Where are they lacking? Where can I make up some ground on them? So really kind of encompassing testing every single time and every single step of the process, because a little bit of testing is going to go a long way, especially with the ROI on, increase in sales, increase in profitability, all that kind of good stuff.
That's awesome, John. Yeah, we're very excited to dive in. We have a few questions prepared for you today. So next time we'll have you on one of our live podcasts so we can get some feedback from our audience, but I'm sure we'll have you back soon. So John, you sort of alluded to the product launch phase, but that testing doesn't just pertain to the product launch phase. So let's start with that first. When you are launching a new product, at what point in the process do you go to PickFu and kind of build that roadmap for me in terms of how you're leveraging PickFu at the very onset of product ideation?
Yeah. So let me share my screen and we'll talk about that a little bit more. So I pulled up an example here that I made some modifications on for the CTR for the main image. We're going to get to that in a second. But let's say you're looking to get into the outdoor thermometer space. And you're like, Delaney, you're like, oh, I want to sell outdoor thermometers. Okay, great. Which are you going to sell? Are you going to sell the traditional style? Are you going to sell a digital style? Are you going to sell one that mounts outside? Are you going to sell one that mounts inside? Are you going to use a suction cup? You don't really know where to go. And you can see here, I have some plugins and extensions. This is Jungle Scout. This is going to give me some good insights. You need to kind of do that first to see where the needle's moving. But at this point, before you even start to say, I'm buying this product, what color should I buy it in? You need to do some A/B or rank testing on PickFu to say, okay, maybe I want to target these Springfield guys because they're doing 5K a month, and then also these ThermoPro guys. So I'm going to target my audience, and let's say my audience is men that are homeowners. Well, actually, no, men and women that are homeowners that make over 75,000, because maybe I want to make a premium product, make over 75,000 in income, and they're prime shoppers. We can drill down those specific targets on PickFu, and we can put these up here, and they're going to give us the information back, and we're going to say, then they're either going to say, yes, we like this one, or yes, we like this one. So now we're going to know specifically, okay, our respondents prefer the LCD and the digital version because of XYZ. That's the data that you're getting. And now that's step one. And now, okay, some product validation. So now you're going to go into the digital thermometer. So we're going to say outdoor digital thermometer. So now let's see who the competition is in this space. So remember, we were talking about the ThermoPro over here. However, there's guys over here. There's guys, down here. There's a lot of different variations, colors, styles. I'm sure much like anyone else, you can get stuck in the rabbit hole of, oh, I want the white, the black, the green, the red, the purple, because it looks nice, but is it going to sell? Right. So then what you're going to do is now that we've understood that we want to do digital, now we're going to take different competitors in the digital space. So let's say we'll take ThermoPro, we'll take Accurite over here. Let's say we're doing, I don't know, the Taylor wired one, right? And then now we're going to get some more data validation, right? Product validation from that test to say, okay, perhaps people like this one because actually people like this one because it shows the weather. It's showing the sun and the clouds, and people like to see that. So now I've went from, analog to digital this or that. And then from here, you're going to say, okay, do you prefer any colors? So you can see the roadmap of the different testing, and it's testing before you invest, because the worst thing that you could possibly do is, ring, ring, ring. Hey, Alibaba, I want 10,000 units on the next 20-foot container for this one, even though people might have wanted this one. And then you're going to be sitting on inventory for a very long time. So now, after we've decided digital, non-digital, this style digital versus that style digital, and if there's color variations, a product like this, you really wouldn't have color variations. I would say automatically stay away from black for something like this, just because it's going in the home. Now we're going to say, okay, you're not going to compare the product against another. You're going to just do a simple rank poll on PickFu, and you're going to put the product up, and you're going to say, if you're shopping on Amazon, what more would you want to know about this product? And or what would you pay for it? Now you're getting people to say, it needs to be outdoor, it needs to be weatherproof, it needs to mount here, and I'm willing to pay $15. I'm willing to pay $20. Now, this is all before you're making the purchase or the investment into the brand, right? Into the product. So you can say, my ICP and my avatar wants these features. They're willing to pay this amount. Let me now then go and source it, understanding the demand and what that's there, right? And then you're going to create, once you've sourced it and it comes in and you're creating the assets, you're doing the same thing all over again. You're doing the A/B testing for the main hero image. How does this look versus this? And how can I make my image better? Does that make sense?
Yep, makes sense. And Vendo's power users of PickFu as well. So I wanted to ask you, John, taking this a step up, because I know that there are ways in which we can normalize for things like ratings and reviews and price points and things of that nature, where naturally on detail pages, when you look at some of the top competitors, they have, maybe a more established listing than you. So you're coming into the space as a completely new seller. How are you testing for things like that and trying to understand how impactful those ratings and reviews might be, or how impactful your price point is going to be at the point of launch?
Yeah, so that's a good question, right? So let me share my screen again, because when we talk about taking a look at the SERP, right? Let's get out of super boring thermometers for a second. No knock at anyone who sells thermometers, but let's take a look at men's supplements over 50. Let's go for that, right? So taking a look at this, right? These are specifically for that drill down for over 50. And you could see there's monsters in this category, 30K sold, but that's Centrum. That's a huge big box brand. So if I wanted to be the next up and coming men's supplement for over 50, I would take a look at the landscape of the SERP and see, right? So I'm taking a look and I'm seeing what's typical best practice. Are people showing box and bottle, just bottle? And then what's the price point? So you can tell, right? This is probably an anomaly because there's 10K sold here and it's a $52 price point. This thing probably friggin' really works, right? But most folks in the space are going to be anywhere between the $10 to $20 category. So you have to compare apples to apples. You can't split test and say, hey, Centrum did, 30,000 units for 17. If I come up with something for 15, I'm going to beat Centrum by 40,000 units. It's not going to happen, right? It'd be nice, but it's not going to happen. So what you have to take a look is apples to apples, and understand, reflect on your inner self and understand that you're not a one a day, that you're not an Alive, that you're not a Centrum. So you want to scroll down a little bit further and make it a little bit more tangible, right? So you see there's some testosterone boosters here, Centrum, Garden of Life. Garden of Life is a good example in the supplement space to kind of go off of. So something like this, they're moving 400 plus units, Jungle Scout saying 765. So you can see, you need a tool like a Jungle Scout or a Helium 10 to kind of give you that data, because I don't know what's Amazon's algorithm and how they go from the 4 to 5, the 5 to 1K, but it's never really accurate. It's kind of just a good kind of ballpark or estimate.
Right.
But if I was selling something like this, a multivitamin for men, how can I make this better? this is a premium price point. It's 80 bucks, right? And there's 400 plus sold. Understandably so, because it's 80 bucks, right? But if I came into this space, how can I make this image better? Well, I know how to make the image better. I'd show the actual product on the outside. I'd have a CTR word on the packaging itself to say exactly what it is. I would put ingredients. The biggest thing in the supplement category, if we're going to stay here for a second, is transparency. So I know we talked about pricing and reviews. In supplements, it can kind of throw it out the window, right? So pricing is super important. Reviews are important. But when it comes to supplements and stuff like that, you have to have transparency and show people what they want to see. Because you could say Century Senior here and this here, right? I'm looking at this. I'm not even looking at the pricing. I'm looking at this because to see what's compelling, what I'm going to use. And then I'm going to come down here. With things like supplements and in things that are consumables, cheaper doesn't always mean better. Cheaper kind of scares me, to be honest, right? I don't want to ingest something. No knock at you, 21st century. I don't want to ingest something that's like $7. I don't know. I just get a weird kind of vibe about it that, if I'm investing in my health and, it's also about what kind of brand you want to build, right? Do you want to build the race to the bottom, China direct competition kind of brand, or you want to build something that's going to be around for a while, has a decent, healthy profit margin, that is a good price point. And people aren't shy about spending money on Amazon if it works, right? So you can see these guys here, 3,500 reviews, 4.7 stars at an $80 price point. It's pretty good, right? So if I was going into this space, right, you can understand if I'm going apples to apples, how can I one-up them?
No, that's a great point. And I want to stay on one of the points you just mentioned around packaging, because I think that a lot of brands aren't leveraging their packaging how they can be for click-through rate and just overall brand presence on the platform to stand out. So would love your insights, John, on what the most ideal packaging looks like and how important is it that your packaging matches what the consumer actually receives in hand? Because you talk a lot about, yes, let's capitalize on maybe that top non-branded keyword in the space and highlight that in the packaging or calling out different ingredients, etc. So should all brands be trying to leverage their packaging in their main image? Is that category dependent? And how important is that?
It's definitely category dependent. I do not try this if you're in the footwear category. You will be gone. Don't do that. Don't do this in apparel. It's very specific. Rule of thumb for me goes, if you see competitors doing it and they still up on Amazon and they're still advertising it, meaning it's sponsored, you can bet that it's an okay thing to do, right? So for me, let me pull up Canva here and let me kind of show you this. So I have a poll over here where we spoke about, if you're shopping on Amazon, which product would you rather buy? Now, the third place and the second place, forget about the winner. I did the winner. Forget about the winner for a second. But we had someone on our platform that ran a public poll, which means we can share this information, right? Where they said this or this. They didn't say what it was. They didn't say, and it was a 50-50 split. I don't have the original poll, but it was a 50-50 split. All they did was show the original one, and then the original one showing the backing with the suction cup and some raindrops on it. And people still were like, I don't know how to use it. I don't really know what it's for. So my rule of thumb is, if my 6-year-old can tell what the product is by the main image, you have a good main hero image. But if my 6-year-old's confused and Juliet doesn't understand what's going on, you got to change it. So what I did was, here, the winner, you could see it was a slam dunk. I did a 15-person poll. 2 people were like, oh, I like it because it's a different style. They didn't realize it's the exact same thing, just showing the back of it. But you could see I added packaging over here. So I have the Canva project over here where I did that. So back to your point, Delaney, like if it's a product that's giftable, if it's a product that like jewelry, Mother's Day, graduation gift, and you're showing packaging behind it that looks really, really nice, you better be including that with the package, with the product, because it's a giftable item. With something that's really more of utilitarian kind of stuff, I don't know about you, but I couldn't care what the product comes in if I'm buying a weatherproof thermometer, right? I'm just ripping it open and I'm using it. So what I did, and you can see on some layers over here, I originally started with just this product here, right? It was the original, just like they had. I went to Canva. Let me move this out of the way. I took the box. I took a regular box, white box in Canva, dropped the background. Then I added a CTR word over here with some benefits, not features, benefits. Suction mounted, battery included, accurate temp. Features would be like, uh, I'm trying to think of what a feature would be like that, like wireless connection, like things like don't really pertain to someone, why someone really wouldn't care about it. But putting the benefits of why, like it's the questions you would have is the battery included? Is it accurate temperature? How does it mount? So then I put the keyword over here, and then I put a little stylized icon over here to give people that understanding of what it does, hot and cold. It's going to measure the temperature. And then I put it in front, and you could see that it's blocking this a little bit, but that's okay because it looks super organic. And then I put the reverse here showing that it's a suction cup, just validation for the suction cup mounted over here. And then on Canva, when I do these kind of things, you can see that there's transparency on here. So if I see a lot of people doing this where they'll be like, oh, I follow what John says and it got flagged and it didn't go through. That's because you have the transparency up to 100, where it looks super duper fake. The biggest thing, the biggest hack you can do in anything in Canva is drop the transparency to make it look like it's part of the packaging. Now, we're not trying to fool anyone, right? Like if you want to include this, if you want to make this your packaging or iteration 2.0, cool, go ahead and do it, right? More power to you, especially if you're trying to get brick and mortar. But most folks are not going to care. And that's evident in the PickFu poll where 13 out of 15 said yes. And you can see down here, they're going to say it's really attractive. It shows the value. It indicates the function. I'm not going to click on something if I don't know what it is. This says what the product is. So it's clear consumers are not going to click on something if they don't know what it is. People, they're just not going to shop like that.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. And when you're looking at, let's say, 2+ options and how we're leveraging PickFu is just understanding some of the commentary for those that maybe chose the less favorable option and implementing that feedback into your main image again. So just for our audience, what John's doing here, it's not just the set it and forget it strategy. He's going back in, he's looking at the commentary, and he's going to iterate on that main image throughout the lifetime of the listing. So John, maybe if you could speak to how often sellers should be looking at refreshing their main image or even just making more minor tweaks to their image throughout the lifetime of the listing. That would be great.
Yeah. So, like I said, it's not ABC, it's ABT, always be testing. So you have to take a look and see what you consider a good CTR. Everyone can say sales are the best metric, conversion rate's the best metric. Those are great, but it all starts with the click. Very famous for coining that, right? It all starts with the click. So you have to understand what your click-through rate is. So what is your click-through rate now? What is your CTR right now? And if it drops, then you have to go and take a look at the SERP. You're going to type in your keywords that you're wanting to be coming up for on Amazon and seeing what the landscape looks like. I see a lot of people in the space that I have 3 kids. Melatonin gummies are no stranger in my house. So search melatonin gummies on Amazon, it's going to be inundated with a sea of purple. How can you stand out in a sea of purple with another purple product, right? So as more competition comes up on Amazon, yes, you could be doing great one week. The next week you could be tanking because you're not monitoring your metrics. So I would say when your CTR goes down or if your CTR is stagnant, those are the times you want to be checking to make sure that your main image is buttoned up. But me, I'm a freak. I'm a CTR weirdo. I look at this kind of stuff all the time. Even if something's good today, it can be better tomorrow. So you really want to always be testing. And it's not just your main hero image. You want to A/B test your title. You want to A/B test your bullet points. You want to look at your image stack. Your image stack is super powerful because after the click, right, people think after the click, people automatically look at the title and buy now. No. After the click, people are looking at your image stack to validate what they're seeing. Then they go to the title to validate contextually what they're visually seeing, and then they go to the buy now.
And I think that's a great transition to my last question, just around some of the more underutilized aspects of PickFu and click tests specifically. Something that Vendo has been dabbling in a bit, in which you can understand different heat maps of your listing. So John alluded to in the very beginning of this call, just understanding this isn't just for main images. This is for things like A+ content, brand story, etc. So John, maybe if we could just tie this all together to how are we looking past the main image while we know how important that is for click-through rate? How does PickFu also have a suite of tools that allows you to diagnose other aspects of your detail page to try to improve click-through rate there as well?
Yeah, it's a great question. So like I always tell people, I understand you guys are an agency, so forgive me. Hold your ears for a second when I say this. Standard A plus content is better than premium A plus content. I know, shock. Because at the end of the day, you can take a ASIN or a screenshot of A plus content for premium A plus. You can upload it to PickFu and tell people, based on this page, where would you go and resonate first? I've seen it time and time again. More often than not, people do not click on the play button on a video that's embedded in premium A plus content. And more often than not, they're not clicking on the arrows inside of carousels to slide over. So that's one of the biggest things you can test is it worth it to go with premium A plus or not? There's different modules for premium. You know, they have the infographic one where the elements are live and you can click on that. That's kind of cool. But those carousels, I feel you're kind of gating the customer from information they need to know. And I found this time and time again by doing click test, heat map test with that kind of stuff and seeing the path and how the customer shops. Because what we like to think when they scroll down, they're clicking on play and watching your amazing video about all-weather digital thermometers, but they're not. Everyone wants to have a video just to have a video, and you should. But when people go below the fold, their intent to buy is there, and then you have to hit them with the pertinent information that they need. Us versus them. Why us? Why we're affecting your life? How we're making your life better? How we're making your life easier? And it's been shown a bunch of times. You're going to get comments. They're going to say, John isn't always talking about premium A plus the heavens. But time and time again, unless A plus, premium A plus is great because it has a large, wide footprint. That alone, you should have premium A plus content for. But when you're embedding videos in it for a product that's under $10 and you have carousels and make people scroll to get more information and they're going to get fatigued and they're going to be like, forget it. When slide number 3 could have sold them if it was on the first page. These are the kind of things you could split test and check with PickFu.
There we go. Well, we're going to end on that. I'd say John is going to spur a little bit of a debate there with premium A plus, not just amongst agencies, but amongst sellers too. You hear everyone talking about how to enable premium A plus quicker. Launchpad's new program has access to premium A plus right off the bat. So Amazon specifically, as we know, is always pushing premium A plus, and you can see all different kinds of metrics that they're sort of putting out there in terms of the benefits of it. So I fully agree with John. It's how you're structuring that premium A plus content or any A plus content for that matter, that's going to yield the maximum return and how the customer is interacting with it at the end of the day to actually get to that end purchase. So John, thanks so much for joining us. I think this was super insightful and learned a ton about thermometers today. Never thought that we'd dabble into that category, but that's super fun.
Go buy a thermometer. It's worthwhile.
There you go. Awesome. Well, John, we'll definitely stay in touch and probably have you back on the podcast soon. I'm sure we'll get a lot of questions coming out of this, so really appreciate your time.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Delaney.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.